I'm JD Green. I've been a face on the radio in Vermont for well over 20 years. And although I've loved my career in radio, I had a vision about bringing my connection to the community to a different platform, to social media, where I could create a blueprint of a podcast that's something constantly evolving, knowing that there's always room for new experiences and learning, discovery, exploration, new questions to ask, and answers to be sought after. A program without limitations, but still with intention to tell a more in-depth story behind what makes us tick, what inspires us, what makes us realize that the what and when is only secondary to the how. And it's the how and the why that I want to uncover. It's my hope with this podcast that I can inspire, inform, that we can learn together and tell the bigger stories behind our lives. That's our story. My real story off the air. I'll try to push the boundaries, arouse your curiosity, and ask the questions you want answers to. Maybe questions no one's asked. The good and the not so good. What's going on in Vermont as well as across our great country. Things you'll agree with, things you might not. It's my hope to laugh with you, cry with you, entertain and enlighten you, but mostly learn with you. Please make sure to support your local public access TV station, subscribe to my YouTube podcast, Aired Out, engage by sharing your comments, and invite your friends to be part of it too. Thanks for tuning in. This is Aired Out. A Friday night of Aired Out. I'm JD Green, and you have found us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Fly on the Wall Productions and CVTV Public Access Television, Channel 192 and 194, and CVTV723.org. One of our sponsors, FGB Theaters, Capitol Showplace in Montpelier, and Paramount Theater in Barrie, home of the FGB movie card and $5 Ticket Tuesdays, where they've got gift cards too, fgbtheaters.com. Some of the movies that are out in theaters tonight, Captain Marvel at the Paramount. We have Wonder Park, How to Train Your Dragon, which is doing very well, Captive State, 5 Feet Apart, Wedding Guest, Medea Family Funeral, Dumbo, and Us. So a busy, busy weekend it will be at FGB Theaters. I want to welcome Michael Wood Lewis, who is sitting next to me, the CEO, the founder, the man behind, of course, one of the most, how do I say it, successful forums, Front-Porch Forum, which I have to admit right off the front here that I am so guilty, Michael, of, for some reason, thinking that Front Porch Forum was something that was extremely localized to the immediate area of central Vermont, Barrie specifically, and Washington County. I'm almost ashamed to admit that I did not know how huge Front Porch Forum has become, and the story behind it. You're even pushing into parts of New York and parts of New Hampshire, I believe.
Just a bit.
So I've read the story. There's a short film documentary that's out. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, and we're going to play the trailer in just a little bit. But the story behind Front Porch Forum is a really cool story. You came up to Vermont from D.C. with your wife and your family, and you moved to Burlington. You were residing in the Five Sisters neighborhood, and what happened?
That's right, JD. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
and yeah, this was back in the late 1990s. My wife and I were newlywed, and we had been living and working in Washington, D.C. We moved to Burlington, fell in love with the city and the South End, and Vermont and all it had to offer. And we were, just settling in and trying to make connections with the neighbors. And it proved to be more of a challenge than we thought it would. And I think it was just a reflection of modern life. People were busy. People were going in all different directions. We would laugh as we watched a neighbor with teenagers pull in and out of their driveway about 30 times a day. And now we have teenagers, so not laughing so much anymore.
Right.
But we decided back in 2000 to try something a little different, and we started what was then essentially a neighborhood email list.
Yeah.
And it took off. We dubbed it the Five Sisters Neighborhood Forum, and we just did that as a volunteer project for a number of years. And then in 2006, it had proven so successful that we thought, well, why wouldn't this work elsewhere? And we spread it across all of Greater Burlington, Chittenden County, and it took off from there.
Now, at that point, as an email, I think you called it a listserv.
Mm-hmm.
What was that accomplishing? What was that just connecting people more or less as like a blog platform?
Well, our technology has changed over 20 years. It started as a listserv. We built our own platform in 2006, and we formed a mission-driven for-profit business around the concept then. And we spread across Chittenden County. Then in 2011, we launched on our third and our current platform, which, again, is heavily reliant on email and the web. And this year, we're getting ready to, in a couple of months, roll out our first mobile app.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah. So,
and I read that you guys are designing that right now.
That's right. Yeah, we're in the process of doing that now.
So, Front-Porch Forum covers the entire state. It's not just right in the backyard of Barre.
Well, actually, JD, I'm glad to hear you had that misunderstanding, frankly, because we strive to make each Front-Porch Forum feel like it belongs to the local folks who are participating. We try to be fairly behind the scenes, just make sure things are running smoothly, and we let the Barre Front-Porch Forum be for the folks in Barre, and the one in Windsor be the one for the folks in Windsor, Brattleboro, Burlington, etc.
Sure. Yeah, it seems super, super localized. So what if you want to connect in with other communities? How would you do that?
Well, each person can join the one local Front-Porch Forum where he or she lives and participate as much as they'd like. There is a feature also where content postings from surrounding communities are also visible to you. So if you're in Barre, you can look into, through our website or our forthcoming mobile app, you can look into the conversations in Montpelier, for example. But that's about it. If you want to go beyond that, if you're a business or a nonprofit, a government agency, you can purchase advertising to reach more different communities. But if you want to be involved with a statewide debate about a current political issue or something, you can go somewhere else. That's just not what we do.
Sure. That's one of the things I wanted to ask you is how Front-Porch Forum differs from other social media platforms. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, pop-ups on Facebook groups that have been created for selling your wares mm-hmm. and whatnot. How does it differ?
Well, I go back to the underlying building blocks of each service. And most of the services coming out of Silicon Valley, the big tech, massive global services, are built on, or many of them are built on an addiction and surveillance model. They get you hooked, and then they watch everything you do, and that's how they make their billions and billions of dollars. That's not our model. Our model is helping neighbors connect and build community by getting folks in the habit of checking out their neighbors' postings for 5 or 10 minutes a day, and then going about their business and not staying glued to their screen for hours and hours. And then we don't surveil people. We don't, spy on what people are clicking on.
Right. But you're monitoring content very carefully.
We do employ a team of Vermont-based online community managers, and their job is to review each posting before it's published. And the 99.9% of postings are published as submitted. They pretty much just let them go by.
Sure.
But the rare one that's toxic, that's really problematic, that violates our terms of use, around personal attacks, around
Sure.
illegal activities, things like that, they stop and they bounce back to the author and explain why we can't publish that post.
And you give folks an opportunity to really understand what it is that you're trying to do, and you don't just kick them out right away.
No.
I think you give folks a couple of strikes, but
we've kicked out almost nobody.
Yeah.
We have 160,000 members in Vermont, and there are 260,000 households in the state. So we have incredible degree of traction, incredible percentage of users. Out of that, the number of people we've had to boot off for really repeated poor behavior, I could count on one or two hands probably.
Sure. And there's another thing that I'm quite guilty of, and that is, and I think I might even say that that I share this with so many Vermonters. At least there's a good number that I know of, that we think of Front Porch Forum as just a forum for selling things that you have or announcing yard sales or whatnot. But if you get on frequently enough, you'll see that that's just a small sliver of what it does.
Yeah, if you'd make a pie chart of all the different types of postings that happen in any given community on their Front Porch Forum, you'd be slicing lots of thin pieces of pie.
I'm sure.
And, buying and selling, free stuff, those are common. But so is discussion about political items. Lost and found is big. Recommendations.
Recommendations
for
is
businesses, services is big. Announcements, events, that's a cornerstone. Pretty much anything people want to talk to neighbors about is fair game, with a few exceptions of of illegal activities, things like that.
I put a post on Front Porch Forum advertising that you were going to be on my podcast tonight.
There you go.
So.
Terrific.
Tell me about this film. What's it, about 25 minutes or so?
Yep.
The story of Vermont's quiet digital revolution. Love to hear about it. We're going to see a trailer here in just a second, but just tell us about the film. And this is so exciting.
We were approached last year by a young Canadian filmmaker, Peter Strauss, who wanted to produce a short documentary about Front Porch Forum and its impact in Vermont. And it was really journalism and art kind of project. He wanted to know, did we want to cooperate or not? He was going to do it. So it's not our marketing piece. And so, of course, we cooperated. He's a terrific guy, we learned. And I would encourage folks to check it out.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's take an opportunity right now and watch the trailer to the movie, The Story of Vermont's Quiet Digital Revolution. Here it is.
Vermont is a very rural state. In fact, it's the second most rural state in the U.S.
People come here because they want to connect to the land, they want to connect to real community.
But as our societies change, as the internet changes the way we interact with the world, we are seeing stress on what we call social capital, the trust, the neighborliness, the reciprocity.
I don't know all my neighbors and their phone numbers and those kinds of things. It's the everyday life we live. It's fast-paced that keeps us away from our neighbors. So,
a lot of people, particularly early on, imagine the internet as transcending the local, as being about this kind of alternate electronic space. And that has completely come apart in the popular imagination.
We have this tremendous sort of pride in our our place, that we represent something. And one of the things we represent is real local democracy. And so Front Porch Forum, it feels like a natural thing to have started here.
The hook, if you will, for Front Porch Forum is that it's local. It's just the people in your neighborhood. We wanted to emulate a block party.
In one town, everyone but one person had participated in Front Porch Forum.
They were like, wow, what's going on? Did you guys put this in the drinking water or something? How did, we kind of went, whoop, everyone adopted it.
Dude, Front Porch Forum, it's the shit. Instagram and Front Porch is all I need.
It started to become like a part of my life. It wasn't like an experiment anymore.
We sort of all have a kind of a private self and a public self. And I think that a lot of places, people don't really know how to have a public self.
It's good for neighbors to know each other and to communicate regularly. It happens less and less.
What a film it's going to be, and there's more opportunities to see the entire film in full length, and it's actually being shown around libraries everywhere, and has been for a couple weeks now.
The initial, what was it called, the debut, I guess, in Vermont was at the Vermont International Film Festival.
Yeah.
Last October. We had a great audience for that, and since then it's been shown probably a dozen times around the state. At libraries, town halls, some theaters, and there's probably another dozen or so locations around the state coming up. The next one's in Lincoln, then North Bennington, Newfane, Randolph, etc. I would encourage folks who are interested to check out on our homepage, frontporchforum.com, and there's a link there with a list of all the screenings.
And you can watch the trailer.
And the trailer's right there as well. Yep.
Yeah. The story, part of the story, in the film that I got a chance to watch that really struck me was the lady up at Trapp Family Lodge.
Young farmer.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about her.
I have not met her. She, the filmmaker, found her. Her name's Emily. She's a farm worker at one of the Trapp dairy operations, and a great personality on
Yes,
camera. She's
yes.
a lot of fun to watch. And she talked about how effective Front Porch Forum was for her business in attracting customers, in addition to her own personal use, and how apparently she ran up against one of the constraints of our system and was posting for her business from a personal account. And so eventually our staff caught up with her and said, well, actually, that needs to be a business account.
Sure.
What's happened is a couple years ago, we were suddenly flooded with businesses who discovered that posting on Front Porch Forum was an extremely effective way to find new customers.
Right.
And we welcomed it at first, but then it became a flood. And the massage therapist and the handyman and the cleaning person and whatever, the mechanic, were posting every day
Yes.
and loading up their roster of customers. And people started to complain. And so we put some constraints in place so that businesses can post a small amount for free. Mm-hmm. And if they want to post more frequently, they can pay, I think it's $8 or $9 a month.
Sure.
So,
what's next?
Yeah, well,
for you, your wife, your team, your family.
Well, Front Porch Forum has grown within the state of Vermont significantly. What started out as a 1 or 2 person operation, now we are soon to employ 18. We're looking to fill one of our software engineering spots right now. That'll bring our head count up to that number. And a lot of folks ask, well, are you going to take this, blow this out across the country and go everywhere? And that is not our intent. To do that successfully would involve a lot of things we're not interested in doing. Raising venture capital, for example. We have gone a different path where we can maintain control, where we can focus on our social mission, and where we can avoid the growth at all cost, kind of trap that befalls many. So we, on the other hand, are very interested in going deeper in Vermont and reaching more Vermonters and offering more features, more services, more ways to help make each Vermont community ever more resilient.
I see folks petitioning for themselves, politicians on the site quite a bit. Might there be a split off maybe where if someone is campaigning for a public office, where there might be a designated area on Front Porch Forum for that?
Yeah, that is a suggestion we have heard before. Can you please split off the part of Front Porch Forum conversation I don't like and put it in a separate area? And it's fascinating because, I'll talk to a dozen different people and they'll each have a different perspective. The first person will think it's all about lost and found. And the only thing that matters is the lost dogs getting found.
Yes.
And the next person, no, it's only about buy and sell. And the next person, no, the only important thing is the political debate. And oftentimes those folks will consider the other stuff to be noise, to be avoided, or worse, they'll consider it offensive.
Sure.
Buying and selling is good, but I hate political discourse.
Yeah. Anybody
or political discourse is next to godliness, and I hate businesses telling me about their wares. That's crass commercialism.
Right.
So we don't believe any of that. We believe that what's important is that neighbors are in regular conversation about a wide variety of topics, issues, and that we're just interested in nursing that along day after day, month after month, year after year, so that people have many points of contact amongst their neighbors.
You just did a survey. I'm going to read off some of these statistics. Due to Front Porch Forum, this percentage of Front Porch Forum members are more likely to attend a local event, 84%. That's incredible. Whether it's a farmer's market or a concert.
Public meeting. Yeah.
Public meeting. That's huge.
I'm glad you pointed that out, JD. It really is astounding. We had a gut feeling about from anecdotal stories from our members for years, and we were approached a while ago by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. That's the Johnson & Johnson fortune, and it was somebody who was focused on social capital. The idea that financial capital is how much money you have in the bank. Social capital is the idea of how many personal relationships, connections you have in your community. And they're both a form of wealth. If you have lots of people it'll help you out, that's great. You might not have money, but you got someone who's going to come shovel your driveway because you're buddies. So social capital. And so they issued a grant to us so we could hire an independent third party who conducted this large survey. They got 15,000 Vermonters to complete a 20-minute survey about Front Porch Forum activity, which was astounding to begin with. And then the numbers came back really kind of an order of magnitude larger than they thought they would. They saw these numbers and saw, you're kidding me, 84% of the people participating in Front Porch Forum claim to attend a local event because of your service. And it goes on, 68% have said they buy local.
Yeah.
So it's terrific.
That's got to get the attention of the governor. It's got to. This was most certainly not a get-rich-quick idea for you and your wife. You guys had to turn around and reinvest money for a long time to get some real momentum, some real traction. Was it Hurricane Irene where you first started to say, whoa, I think we might be onto something? And if so, why?
Irene was such a hardship for so many Vermonters, and we were personally not in its path in our neighborhood in Burlington. And so my Front Porch Forum colleagues and I said, well, gee, we should, like so many other Vermonters, let's volunteer. Let's go put on the muck boots and go and help shovel somebody out. And every time we start to push away from our computer monitors, another 100 postings would come through in towns like Moortown, which was severely impacted.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, wait, let's help these guys electronically through providing our service. And what happened was the communities that had Front Porch Forum in 2011, when Irene hit, it was found out later, proved to be more resilient, bounced back faster than the communities that did not yet have Front Porch Forum. And in part, it was because there was a communication tool in place for the immediate moment. But I remember the librarian in Moortown making the point to me. She said it was not just that, more important, it was the year before the disaster where all this social capital had been accruing among neighbors, where I think it was she who said Front Porch Forum is like fertilizer for the soil of community. It made for a much richer soil in which the PTO got stronger. More people started attending local church. More, dog walking group on Wednesday mornings formed. All those kind of things.
Motorcycle groups.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on.
And then when disaster hits, it's not just the people you know through Facebook, across the state or in some other state. You know 20 neighbors.
Sure. What a concept. And it's connecting neighbors when, it's after dinner. It's, when most people aren't banging on each other's doors and saying, hey, can I come over and sit and watch TV with you for a while? I mean, this is all ours. This has broken a massive barrier, really. And even has created, and I'm sure you could list off many off the top of your head, but it has even created food shelves and given birth to so many other clubs and organizations that make our community so great.
It's been a real honor for us to play what's really a small role, but it turns out to be a pivotal role in so many projects across the state. People often talk about Front Porch Forum being a catalyst. It's not the people who are getting it done, but without Front Porch Forum, those people who get the thing done wouldn't have known about it, wouldn't have come together, wouldn't have been inspired, would have been missing some piece.
One of the things that I like is when you register, which it's free to be part of Front Porch Forum.
Free service at frontporchforum.com.
Imagine that, something free. But you've got to register your physical home rooted address.
Yeah.
What a concept, huh?
That is the price of admission.
That is the price, and that's worked well, but that's also has probably had you scratching your head a few times.
Yeah,
You know what I'm referring to. A gentleman who had some issues with some signs on his front yard, and that's written about in here. And
okay.
And
there have been, what we require is that everyone sign up with their real name.
Yeah.
And their home address.
Sure.
And we do not reveal the house address, but if you do post, your name and your street name or road name will be part of that posting. And so the image we have in the real world is of a block party.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where amongst your neighbors, where people are wearing name tags.
Total transparency.
So that's the idea. You don't have to put your social security number on your name tag, Sure. But it's like, okay, that's Frank Johnson. He lives on my road, and you can make those connections.
As Vermonters would prefer.
It makes in some cases it makes folks uncomfortable. In one case, it makes people interested in trolling uncomfortable, which we don't mind. People who are coming on just to, stir up trouble and cause aggravation. And those folks like to hide behind fake names and things, so we try our best to sniff them out. But sometimes there are legitimate cases for anonymity. And unfortunately, our model just doesn't really provide an avenue for that. We had a woman with a restraining order on her ex-husband, and she didn't want to let him know where she was. And we were sympathetic to that, but we really didn't have a solution for that situation at this time.
Sounds like you and your team are very, very busy every single day.
Front Porch Forum appears to be simple to the average user, and we're glad for that. And I often get asked, "Oh, is this your part-time project, Michael? Side project?" No, it's we have 18 people working, every day to keep this on track. It's complex.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you in here. I have been looking forward to chatting with you now for some time. Thank you for connecting with me and for agreeing to come on the podcast. I'm telling you what, folks, check it out, frontporchforum.com. There are so many different ways that you can use this incredible service, all from the inventor right here, the CEO, the big cheese, the president, the husband, the dad, and co-founder.
That's right.
We have to say co-founder of Front Porch Forum, Michael Wood Lewis, with me this time around. Thank you so much again, sir.
Thank you, JD.
Appreciate it. I hope you come back. Again, thanks to Peak Entertainment of Vermont, New Hampshire, FGB Theaters, and CBDcrave.com, Fontaine Forestry at Millworks of East Montpelier, CW Print and Design, Fly on the Wall Productions, and Tony Campos and Abubakar and the rest of the team here at Central Vermont Television, CVTV in Barrie. I'm JD Green, and this is Aired Out.